Most welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in and for watching Smart 24 TV. This is The Point. We get to discuss pressing issues that currently, of course, affect our society in Uganda. Today, we are discussing the illicit use of drugs and what the law has in place and what, of course, the regulators are pushing for. Recently, on the 9th of May, on the 5th of May, the Constitutional Court ruled out and annulled the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Control Act 2015, which prohibited the sale and use of narcotic drugs in Uganda. This was after a ruling of Justice Muzamiru Mutangula Chibedi, who declared the law null and void because it had been passed without the required quorum, which is at least 1/3 of the House. Now, of course, after this, the different parties like Dr. Diana Twine, who is the permanent secretary of Ministry of Health, and several officials from police came out to say that much as the law had been nullified, the National Drugs Authority Act, which is the 1993 National Drugs Authority Act and policy, was still in place and would, of course, lead to a crackdown of those that were using drugs. Now, just to give this a little bit more light, in total, according to the annual crime report from police, there were about 2,797 cases of narcotics that were reported in police to police countrywide in 2021. In 2022, rather, there were about 4,818 suspects, including 137 juveniles that were arrested and charged to court, compared to at least 1,668 cases in 2021, showing that almost the numbers doubled. That is the number of the cases that are related to the use of narcotics. Is the law currently the National Drug Act and Policy 1993 able to actually give the police the mandate to crack down such cases? Councillor Lufunya, what are your thoughts on what the permanent secretary and the police is saying, that much as this law was nullified, that is the Narcotics Act, we still have the National Drug Authority Act, and this can still put a crackdown on some of these cases? Is this true?
No, it's not. It's not true, and it's not possible. The police, as of now, do not have the mandate to crack down on weed smokers, on shisha smokers, on drug lords who allow opium and cocaine to enter the territory of Uganda. They do not have that mandate under the sun after the decision of the Constitutional Court. The National Drug Authority, and I don't want to be misquoted, in my view, in my opinion, without even reading, is an act that provides for the establishment of the National Drug Authority. Its structures, its staff, its remuneration, its terms of employment, and has nothing to do with enforcement. I will challenge Dr. Diana Twine to quote me a section under that act that criminalizes smoking of opium or criminalizes of importation of weed or cocaine or poppy in Uganda. So there is no law enforcement agency, the National Drug Authority and the Uganda Police combined, who can crack a whip. They can back. Backing is creating an operation amongst the youth, round them up, put them in for 1 day, and then release them on police bond on a holding charge. A holding charge is an alternative charge until other issues happen. But all hope is not lost. There are other laws. But these laws are not going to be directly from a specific law. You see, the issue of curbing and enforcement of drugs is not, it's not your usual pudding. You understand? It's not a casual issue. I wonder why police and the PS, the court itself, and Ugandans take it casually.
Yeah.
The United States has the largest drug enforcement agency, the DEA.
Yeah.
And the DEA fights importation of drugs and drug cartels within the territory and outside the territory of the United States. And its annual budget, the annual budget of the DEA is close to about 50 billion US dollars. Now, the Uganda police has no specialized unit. And if these are specialists, has no specialized unit apart from the airport police, to deal with issues of what? Of drugs. Now, the drug cartels are too big. They even employ police. Police cannot police itself. The smokers of weed, the smokers of opium, the smokers of miraa, those who chew miraa, are the police centurions who keep guard. You understand?
Yeah.
Those who benefit from drug business are technocrats in ministries, in government. You understand? It is hard for you to treat the issue of narcotics casually and you expect, you understand, serious outcomes. I wonder what, I've not had the benefit of reading the decision of the court, but I am so much interested in seeing the response of the Attorney General in regards to this law.
Yeah.
You could find that there was no value for money coming both from the Attorney General and the court itself. Because you see, the law, and as an officer of court, as an advocate, I am careful not to criticize, but to critique a court decision. The business of invalidating very important laws like this one, that has an adverse effect. Inter alia, among others, but most importantly, the defense and the security of this country, to me, is not value for money. The state attorneys who are responding, understand?
Yeah.
You see, the Constitution mandates us under Article 126(2)(e) to deliver justice with undue regard to technicalities. Now, the Constitutional Court on this particular law kicked out this particular law, not on the merits. They did not dig into the merits.
No.
There were no arguments of the merits, but on a technicality. A technical objection is an objection that stops proceedings without diving deep in your hands into the merits
of
the suit.
Yeah.
And the effect of the decision of the court, which I highly respect, but highly disagree with. Because for me, I think the Constitutional Court served us hot air. The justices did not do us good in matters of jurisprudence, in development of the law, but in matters of dispensing justice with due regard to the norms and aspirations of the people of Uganda. I do not think the state or the organ of the state, and the judiciary is part of it, would want to preside over a country of zombies.
Now, Councillor Lupunya, before we get further to criticize the jury on this particular case,
critiquing.
Yes. Back in 2017, the farmers of Miraa, that is a CAT, I think. That's
yes, CAT, yes.
And their umbrella body, Wakiso Miraa Growers and Dealers Association Limited, petitioned for this act to be nullified. And the farmers wanted to nullify the law because they were saying, among other things, that they were not consulted. That was one of the things. And also its provisions, they said, were not backed up by evidence and scientific evidence that really brings down narcotics in Uganda. Do you agree with this line of thought? Because these are also people that probably are trying to survive within an economy where it's so hard to actually get by. We've seen so many frustrations, and people are saying they're frustrated by the current economic and financial instability in the country. And this is probably one of their lucrative businesses, Miraa. I know you understand how lucrative this business is. Otherwise, people wouldn't be wasting hectares of land, at least planting this particular plant, not only here in central Uganda, but when you go to different parts of Uganda. So what would be your line of thought in particular case for these farmers of cat, farmers of miraa that are coming up to say, we need this law nullified so that we can stay in business?
I think the argument made by the miraa farmers in Wakiso, for lack of a better word, is pedestrian. It's pedestrian. You see, the argument presupposes selfish proposals at the expense of the public good. You see, you cannot excuse theft because of extreme hunger. Now, their argument in simple terms for the benefit of our viewers is, let me save my child, but the rest of your children can go to hell. Drug abuse is a serious business. I have told you the United States invests $50 billion to control, to enforce the laws on narcotics, which Uganda does not have currently right now. Why? The minds of the population. The government has parish development models. If it is the policy of government that you see miraa, poppy or opium, as it's called, nkwacho, as it's called, and weed is more lucrative, you understand? Then that agricultural program of parish development model should opt for this, you understand? But you see, generally, there's nothing good that comes out of drug abuse or allowing a general mass or population to consume controlled substance. Narcotics are controlled substance. They are exceptionally allowed to be used, and that's what the law provided. But in very extreme circumstances, for medicinal purposes, and for those with acute pain. In the US, we've had countless representative suits about the opioids and their addiction. Opioids, these are multi-billion industries, and companies like Johnson's and Johnson's have been sued because of the effects of the opioids. They have the effect of addiction. You see, narcotics are so addictive, they can only be likened to a fat kid who loves cake. A fat kid who cannot do away with the sweetness of cake. Now, if you allow a nation to openly consume narcotics without serious, and you see, when I mean serious, I don't mean the casual way Uganda police and policymakers treat this issue of narcotics. A specialized unit among its law enforcement agencies. It could even be independent from the Uganda police. Say an NDA, National Drug Authority, specialized in ensuring, because this law, the one that has just been nullified, gives the National Drug Authority enforcement power to stop and control the usage of narcotics. And let the public or the viewers understand that narcotics are in your drug shops, in your pharmacies. You understand? What do they call it? Antibiotics.
Yes.
And narcotics. If you overuse them, you become addicted. Sleeping pills and narcotics. But because the National Drug Authority licenses a pharmacy, they also probably license the pharmacist and control the nature of drug, because these are skilled, it's a skilled agency. Now, once you chop off its teeth or its ability to do its work, then you're going to have a nation of addicts. Because I told you, narcotics consumption is viewed by very many Ugandans, 90% of Ugandans, as a way of life. Through smoking pipe, shisha, through our songs, through our celebrated personalities. Smoking weed is being cool. But smoking weed, cannabis, opium, and cocaine kills the social fabric of the nation. Now, we stand at a risk within this short time before the law. I hope the Attorney General will appeal to the Supreme Court. There will be a constitutional appeal. Or Parliament will rush, just like they rushed in the Anti-Homosexuality Act, to pass a new law, this time round, curing the issue of quorum. And you see, still, even, it goes back. Because if you're elected as member of Parliament to represent the people, then why are you absent
during such
discussions? You understand? Ugandans themselves are sending us, supplying hot air of members of what? Parliament. Laws that are very, very important, not to be nullified by the Constitutional Court. And to falter the Constitutional Court about issues of technicality, you see, what could they do if the law says you have to do this? My only view with them is that they ought to interpret laws and the Constitution as a living document. They can give life to the nation, or simply plug out the life support machine and the whole nation flatlines. And that will be the end of Uganda if the narcotic law is not in place.
Council, I find the technicality really also null and void. I mean, yes, I think we've had several laws that have come in place and we didn't have quorum. I don't know if it's just a technicality of the Constitutional Court, but such a matter, I would presuppose that it is a matter of national importance when it comes to drugs and narcotics, like you've highlighted. Why would we look at really the number of members of Parliament or whatsoever, especially in the case of a Constitutional Court?
Now, you see, the roles of the three arms of government have been defined. The executive holds the sword. It enforces the laws. The Parliament holds the purse. It apportions the budget, but also makes the laws. Now, the judiciary is the referee. Checked by these other arms of government. Now, you see, the courts are normally shy to do the work that Parliament ought to be doing. That's why once matters like this, quorum, and we've had examples, the Anti-Homosexuality Act, which was quite important to the social fabric of the country, but quorum did not pass. Now, even when quorum was available, you understand, and it was presented before the president, it was not well researched, you understand. Now, you cannot falter. You cannot call the decision of the Constitutional Court based on technicalities to be null and void, because it's within their mandate to interpret the Constitution, you must give it life, but also look at the constitutionality. The law as it is right now is that an act of Parliament must be passed with the requisite quorum. And every procedure must be followed to the letters. But I have seen exceptions. And I have seen how different the Constitutional Court treats some of these laws. The Constitutional Amendment Bill of Article 105, Tojukwata, had the exact clause. No certificate of financial implication, social structure doctrine, and in my view, the technicalities that would annul a law about the chief executive of the country were set aside under Article 126(2)(e), and the substance of the security and the stability, because the office of the president would give stability of the country. And those are the reasons the Constitutional Court used to declare that the Constitution Amendment Bill on Article 105 was constitutional, and the same was confirmed in the Supreme Court. A litany of top-class lawyers were deployed to ensure that this was the question. Now, for me, I falter the justices, I critique the justices of the Constitutional Court and whatever legal player was there for taking the issue of narcotics casually and opening up the country to a big, very, very dangerous trajectory of addiction and skilling the social foundation of the nation. Now, all is not lost. The abuse of narcotics can be manifested itself in very many criminal laws, away from what Dr. Diana and the police are quoting and the spokesperson of the judiciary. Because where you find drug abuse, you'll find common assaults or aggravated assaults, and the penal code provides for that. Where you find top-notch narcotics abuse, you'll find issues like pimps, and brothels, prostitution, which is still criminalized in Uganda, and it's in the penal code. You'll find issues like human trafficking and slavery, which is provided for in the Anti-Human Trafficking Act of Uganda. You'll find homicides, but then homicides will be very unfortunate because they ought to have been prevented. Because if you look at homicide in the penal code, then you're looking at the post-mortem, the after effect. But if you knew that the shootings in Kampala that have been happening right now, some have hinted on mental health issues and consuming of controlled substance. If the law was in place and the enforcement was hard and to crack on the vice, then you'll find that these unnecessary deaths or homicides would also be eliminated. The Traffic and Road Safety Control Act also can come in handy to stop road carnage and accidents. If you look at criminal societies, recently the government, through an order of the Attorney General, banned the 4GC. The 4GC that was headed by Mpuga and Kanovesiji through a provision on the Penal Code Act. Now, where you see narcotics abuse, you'll find cliques of people organizing themselves into criminal societies. The Mungikis, the Tamil Tigers. I wanted to make, for the benefit of our viewers, the largest drug cartel in Mexico, Sonora. This is a drug cartel that is too powerful than the Mexican federal state. You can imagine, and the economy of the Mexican state is way far, many times more than the economy of Uganda. Now, this is not your usual pie or pudding that you will eat and everything remains normal. The drug business is a multi-billion dollar. In Uganda alone, it's estimated that it's close to about $3 billion US. Wow. Uganda. And that's what you're dealing with. So it is not something that we can treat casually, but it's something the policymakers, the courts, the cabinet, the parliament, and those concerned about the mental health of our young people. The young people make the very social foundation of the country. Plans like parish development model, youth livelihood programs, women empowerment programs. You see, it's the women who sell mira along the streets of Kampala. You go to the Rubaga Road right now, and you see, they are not just any other ordinary women, they are single mothers. An indicator that the women who trade, who call mira, nkwacho selling or weed selling as a lucrative business, come from a background of a broken family. They are single mothers who are out there. And you see, the parish development model is a model based on family. household income. Now, if the government does not have the basic foundation of its program, which is a family, you understand, then the parish development model or wealth creation tours will not work until you deal with the drug problem.
Yeah, wow, interesting, Council. We're going to take another short break. When we return, we get to address the issue of drug addiction and some of the adverse health effects that come with it. There are people that are engaged in this act, not out of sometimes, lack of awareness, sometimes because of constraints that they are having in family and in school. You can see, for example, when you go to schools right now, there are people as young as senior one who have already started this act.
Yes.
And these are not people who sometimes are not coming even from poor families. They're people coming from very wealthy families, but because of the influence that they have had in school and their society, they find themselves engaging in this act. How can we help them? And how can we be able to nourish them and change the fabric of our society that is slightly changing from what we knew to people now using this as the safe haven for depression, as a safe haven maybe for having fun. Some people find it fun. And then later on, we have all these addictions. My name is Anthony. I'm with Council Ufunia Derek. Stay with us. We are returning very, very shortly.